Yes, so when you have this trace on, what happens is the system, whatever process, system passes through before arriving at the end or encountering an error or running through the script, system documents it. It's more like a log, okay? If you have this trace on, you're able to trace all the steps the system, did to arrive at whatever it is. It could be an error. It could be a normal, it could be a successful end of the script, successfully exiting the script. Whatever process, as long as you have this trace on, system is able to document all those things and show you. I have a trace file for a different process. Let me see up here, just to show you how it looks. And the extension for a trace file, every trace file, the extension is .trc, .trace. While in SQL, in Finacle Script, the extension is .scr, okay? Now, this is an example of what a trace file looks like. I'm going to bring it down a bit. Just, you can see that this entire thing, it runs, it will tell you the entire thing that happened. Let me just show you guys from the beginning. So this is where the script started from. It started from here. This is the path where this script, this is the path where the script is deployed and be called from. This is a First Bank FBN backend. This process was for First Bank Senegal. So system ran through this. You can see the trace on, right? The trace on here. System ran through it. System went to run a select query from the DB. These are the parameters that he used. At this point, there was a failure. I will talk about this in the class. We already discussed this, but I would talk about it as we proceed. So system encountered a failure here, went to finish, and then trace off. So basically, I'm able to say that, okay, this account number did not process because there was an error. System encountered an error on that. Then system picked another account number, which is this, and then it ran through and also encountered an error. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that I'm able to follow through what happened in the system, and I'm able to, I'm able to pinpoint the point where I need to check. Or for instance, if I'm looking at this trace right now, I'm able to see that this fetch was not successful. So what do? I begin to look for what happened, probably check this table. Let me see the table system is going to check. You can see this is a custom table, custom LDT. Okay, that's it. Same thing, custom LDT. So I'll go to this table and check. I believe that the reason why this failed was because this account number does not exist in this table, all right? But that is an example of what a trace file looks like, okay? Yes. So the reason why we have that, let me increase my font a bit. Great. The reason why we have the reason why we're able to see this trace file is because we have our trace on. And okay, we have our trace off, okay? Now, in Finacle scripting, we have what we call the repositories and the classes. Just like in every other language or languages or programming languages, there are repositories, there are classes. In Java, we refer to classes as objects, right? Different languages, different syntax or the way of, writing it. In Finacle, we use the repository, the class, and the field name to create a variable. Now, what is a variable? A variable, in my term, in the way I like to say it, is a container that holds value, okay? I love to explain it as a container, whatever container, like this cup of coffee. It's a container that holds value. In this instance, the class is the cup is the variable, while the value is the coffee in it. All right. So it's now in Finacle, unlike other languages, some languages for you to create a variable, you just simply need to write something like this. Let's say you have a name, then you say equals, you can say name equals TCB hub. Writing this in some languages, you have created a variable and you have assigned TCB into it, right? In SQL, in PLSQL, if you do this, in PLSQL, if you do this, you've assigned a value to that. In different languages, different ways of writing it. But in Finacle, for you to have a complete variable, there must be repository, there must be class, and there must be a field name. Okay? All of this would become a variable where you can assign whatever value you want to assign. Okay? What I've done so far, okay, let me leave it there for now. I'm going to put a hashtag on it so that you can have it as one of our comments, hash. Now you see, it's grayed out, system will not be able to read it again, right? Now, for you to create a variable, a complete variable, you must create or check to confirm if that repository exists in that script. Now, this is the condition we're using to check, right? Here, this is a function that we're using to confirm if this exists, and this is a function we're using to create it if it doesn't exist. Now, we have this condition that says if rep exists, if repository exists, and the name of the repository we're checking out for is base. I remember that sometime in class here, we talked about comparison operators, where we said, if you are assigning, let's say we have a name equals TCB, Now, this first one is simply assignment of value to a variable. Some call it initialization of values to a variable, right? The second one is comparison. You're comparing two values. It means that there's a value in this guy that we are seeing, that there has to be a value in it, that we're comparing with this to check if they are the same. This one is comparison, while the other one is assignment, okay? So I'm taking it off. So in this case, we are comparing to see, is this function passing this parameter base, which is our repository, is it empty? Is it zero? We're checking it if it's at par with zero. Is it zero? Is it the same thing as zero? If it's the same thing as zero, then we'll call this function, please create base for us. All right? If it's the same thing as zero, please create base for us. That's what we have done here. Simple. Which implies that if this guy is not zero, system will ignore it, knowing that the repository base already exists in the script. All right? Now, remember that we have repository here. That's what we're checking here. The next one is the class. We have this, okay? The class is, excuse me. We have, now, remember in this case, this class is here after the repository, right? So we're checking with this function. We're using this function to check if if class exists inside this repository ID is our class. If it is at par, if it's the same thing as zero, it means that it does not exist. So we're going to create a class, right? Inside the base repository, we have the class. And then this 5 here is the data type, and I'm going to explain it. Data type, okay? Let me, for instance, I'm going to write something here. I will take it out afterwards. The first one I think is integer, am I right? I think so. Integer. Second one should be float or double. Oh Lord, I can't remember now. So there are 5 of them, but I can't remember the order in which they are, but I'm just going to write float. It could be either 2 or 3, okay? No, float, yeah. The third one is C double, right? Double. These are data types in Finacle. The fourth one is character. Character. The fifth one is string. Okay? Now, the fifth one is string. You can see 5, right? The fourth one is character. The third one is double. Second one is float. And first one is integer. If I come here and I say I want my script to be an integer type, it means that 90% of whatever I'm doing in this script will be what? Integer. However, if you take a look at this script already, we have almost everything we have here is a string. You can see almost everything we have in the script are all string. So if there are little places where we need to use integer, we can then convert to integer, okay? We can say convert to integer. How do we convert to integer? Let me show you. So you can see this is count, okay? If you want to convert this to integer, all you need to do is do cint, convert it to integer. Automatically, system sees this guy as an integer, all right? That is how we do that. I'm going to take it off. And if you put 2 here, it means that you're telling the system that you want to see a float. 90% of what you want to have in this file is a float type of script. If you use 3, you're talking about double. Double is usually, in Finacle, double is usually when you want to talk about maybe account, maybe money amount. Let's say, if you convert, double is when you have, let's say for us, yeah, we use, let's say you have 10,000, 10,000.00. What you have in after the decimal point is double, okay? It's usually used when you're talking about money and all that, okay? These are all double. Someone will ask, what's the difference between double and float? Double and float, that will be your assignment, but I'll tell you guys as we continue, right? Then character is what you have as, oh no, we've talked about this actually in class. So if you have any question around it, you can always comment on this video, okay? By the way, kindly subscribe on this channel, whatever channel you're watching from, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and the likes, whatever you are watching, wherever you're watching from, please like and comment, like, follow, share, do whatever you want to do, right? Yes, so I was talking about character. So if you make this 4 and say, I want this guy to be a character, you're automatically saying that everything here should be a character type. And what is a character? Character is when you have single alphabet like this. This one can mean yes. You have something like this, which can mean no. You have something like this, A, which can mean active. You have something like I, which can mean inactive. You have something like D, which can mean, which can mean dormant. I'm using banking terms now because basically we're writing, we're customizing or building a banking application script, okay? So these are, all these things here are known as characters. They're usually 1 and alphabets, right? I'm picking all of this. Then 5 is that we're saying that our script here is mostly a string data type. You can take a look. This is a string. You can see everything here. You can see this. Everything here is a what? Is a string. Most 90%, if not 95% of things in this script are all string data types. Okay, so that is why we have this our data type as string. That is that. Okay, great. I'm assuming that most people have questions already. Please ask your questions on the comment sections, and we'll do well to respond to each and every one of them, okay? Okay. Now, having done this, we have been able to create our repository. We have been able to create our class, and we have said that the field should be a string field, okay, which is 5, right? Which now makes our complete variable look like this: base dot id dot whatever name you choose to use here, right? You can say field, okay? Field name. I can decide to call this guy, I can try to call it name, right? If I call this name and I do equals, what name should I use now? Let me use Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, right? If I print the value of my file here, of my variable here, this will print Anthony Joshua for me in this Finacle script, okay? That is how we create our variable. You can call this you can call it anything. You can call it full name. Full name. You can write it anyhow you want it, right? You can write it in capital letter. It doesn't matter. But just know that it is case sensitive. I cannot have, for instance, name in capital letter here, and I have it in small letter here. It won't work, all right? It won't work. So whatever you write here is how we are going to use it across board in the script. Good. So I'm taking that guy off. We don't need variable. What? Nope. Sorry, yes. So this is what I don't need, yeah? Taking it off. Okay, now that I've explained to you how we got this variable, now I'm going to talk about this. I have mentioned this in class as well, but for those of us who probably would love to have this recap, this is for you, okay? Banks is a standard repository in Finacle Script. No, just so you know, just like we are able to create our own repositories and classes, Finacle application programming language, which is Finacle scripting, some call it FSCRIPT, has a standard repository. Okay, it has a standard repository that enables you to have, before you pass, you get it from the application, and then you can pass or assign the value into your own variables, right? Before you use it. And I'm going to explain this in a short while. I'm going to explain this in the next video so that I can open up the front end by explaining this class. This banks is a standard repository across Finacle Script. If you look here, you see a lot of them. Banks, you see banks, you see banks everywhere, right? But the classes are all different. You can see you have input here, and you have, let me see, you have out param here, you have in param here. There are lots of them, and I'm just going to open one of the Finacle front end to show you how or what it looks like. All right. Thank you so much for this video. Like and share, like I said, I'm going to meet you in the next class where I can show you how these things work. Thank you.